Hello everyone, it is day 5 of November and of NaNoWriMo. My goal today is to reach 12,500 words. I'm currently at 10,143, so a little less than the 2,500 word minimum to get to where I need to be today. Yesterday I forgot to switch over to the scene that shows the book, so I'm going to do that now so I don't forget. Starting a little bit later today because my wife had to run some errands. One of my sons had to go sit with his grandmother for a little while, and the other son had to have a violin lesson. So there's a lot of things that kind of slowed me down. I tried to get other work done. It's a little bit different doing NaNoWriMo this way. I guess it's a lot different when you're streaming because there's more to it. If I wasn't streaming and having to set up and having to be sure no one needed me in the house or anything like that, I would just sit down first thing in the morning, knock out my minimums, and then move on to other things. So I'm kind of getting into the other things for my day, and then kind of drifting over to the streaming. And so I spend a lot of time kind of I don't want to say wasting time, but kind of drifting back and forth between one thing or another. I'm also a little distracted today in the last couple of days, so that's kind of played into that a little bit. But nothing like just going ahead and getting started with the writing and taking the time you need to just get it done. So, Rise Again is the novel. It's a sci-fi novel by me, Jay Wilburn, and we're about to begin chapter 6. So we will scroll on down there. 10,000 words later, we are at chapter 6. And again, chapter titles are a little weird with the random words and numbers, and maybe that will make sense soon. Maybe it will make sense later. We'll find out. All right, so new narrator for this chapter. I saw. Okay, let's say I saw all of it. I heard some of it and saw the rest. My citizen I don't know why I'm stuck on that word. Identification number is, I could probably put down a random number, but I wrote down one anyway, so I'm just going to put down the one I wrote. 009843333 A4. That number really has no significance to me. I thought it was funny to put 4 of the same number together because I remember one time I got like a verification code I had to put in, and it was much longer than this, but there were a bunch of the same number together, so I had to figure out how many of those there were, so I didn't put in the wrong number. So I find that personally funny. My citizen identification number is that. I work at the distribution hub on the street where the incident occurred. Don't have that location number memorized, but you can pull it up with my SIN if you need to. Okay, well, I heard them before I saw them. I was, well, let me do a new paragraph here. I was early to my post and was getting ready to unlock the hub when I heard the commotion. it sounded like someone was hurt or sick, but it seemed more violent than sick, like someone was dying or being killed. It was like coughing, more like gagging, and this desperate string of words I could barely make out because of the coughing. Well, of course, I went to see if a fellow citizen needed help, or if a crime needed to be logged. I know my duty, and I was crossing the street when I heard the other voices, so I stopped. No, I was still going to report and help as I was able. But I did not know. Have I used contractions with him yet? Let me not use contractions with him and see if that makes sense. But I did not know if authorities were already dealing with it, or if danger was still present. I only stopped long enough to assess the situation, as is my duty as a citizen. No, I'm not saying I think you use unnecessary force. I'm saying anything could have been happening in that moment with all that coughing and cross conversation. I didn't want to make it worse by interfering with an investigation. Let's say intervention, and then let's spell it right. Intervention. With an intervention, or add another victim to your docket before I could report it. Yes, sir. I'll tell it as best I can recall, which is my duty as... Yes, sir. I will stop wasting your time. Apologies. At that point, I heard the man, the one who was sick or hurt, who I could not yet see, say, "This air is poison. This air is poison. You've taken me to a place with no air to breathe." I don't know what he meant. No, sir, I don't. Yes, there's more. There was more cross conversation, but I did understand some of it. The words, I mean, not the meanings of them. One of the men said, "You're just used to breathing that garbage air." Okay, you're just used to breathing that. Why am I not spelling garbage right? Okay, the computer's just confused. That's not great. That garbage air. This is clean air. Just breathe normal, and your lungs will get used to it. Don't touch him. The other man said, We've probably already caught something from him. Yes, sir. There were three men, including the one who got hit by the transport. Yes, sir, there were 3 men, including the one who got hit by the transport, and 1 woman. I saw them after the man started running. Yes, sir. I'll get to the point. Alright. So clearly he's talking to someone and we don't have their side of the conversation, but he's relaying what he saw and heard. He needs help, the woman said. We're the ones who brought him here. We need to get him help. We don't even know where here is yet. This could be another terrible world. No, sir. I don't know which one said it. I still hadn't seen them at this point. No, I have never seen them around the hub before. A few other interesting things. Yes. One of them, a different man from the one who said this was a terrible world, said they seem to be advanced. Those craft are I need a different word besides advanced. Those craft are space aged compared to regular airplanes. Those craft are space age compared to regular airplanes. It's been my experience that advanced societies are a little easier to navigate once you figure out their rules. They can still be tyrannies. Got two cans in there. They can still be tyrannies of a sort, but most places are. Advanced how? The woman asked. I didn't hear the next bits because the hurt or sick man went over into another fit of coughing and retching. No, sir, I have no idea. Well, after that, the coughing man staggered out into the open and ran past me on the street. I didn't have time to stop or to help him, or I would have, like any good citizen. Yes, sir. Alright, moving right along. He looked dirty, filthy. He had sores I could see even in the low street lights. Even in the low street lights, with him passing me by so quickly. I don't know the street by my hub is just darker than other streets in the city. No, sir. I'm not complaining. I'm just answering you. Complaining. I'm just answering you as best I can. Yes, sir. They stepped out into view next. The woman ran about half the distance between the alcove they must have been in before I saw them, and she ran about half the distance between the alcove where I must have saw them, where they must have been in before I saw them, and and me, and my location in the street. All right. The bigger of the two men caught up to her in a couple strides and took hold of her bicep. He stopped her from running after the sick man who was still coughing and moaning behind me. She turned and tried to shake his hand off, but he wouldn't let go. No, sir. I couldn't tell at that point if she needed help or not. As you probably know, it's hard to tell sometimes in that part of the city. Yes, sir. I see that sort of thing over there from time to time. I report it every time. You can check my SIN if you want to see the reports. Did you not see them on the surveillance cameras? They don't. No, I wasn't aware of that. Yes, sir. She pushed him in the chest, and he let go of her on his own. He said, "We can't chase him through a city we don't know anything about." Yes, sir. They seemed to speak English quite well. I could not identify their accents, I'm afraid. Yes, then she said, "We brought him here. Here is already better than where he came from," the man said. Here is already better than where he came from, the man said. We need to get somewhere we can assess our situation. Aveline, come on, please. I don't know. It was at that point the sick man definitely became the hurt man. The transport struck him and sent him flying. Let's make it automated so there's not a driver. The automated transport struck him and sent him flying through the air. All four of us went running to see what happened. I had my back to him when it happened, but I looked in time to see him clear the fence and then fall down the embankment. Yes, sir. It was the woman who tried to touch the barrier. The two men pulled her. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The two men pulled her away before the shock killed her. I don't need it to sound like she died. Before the shock could kill her. I think her hands might have been hurt, but she was still standing. The three of them turned. The three of them turned to look at me, and that's when I opened my screen and began an incident report. As soon as I got the words new, not the words new, I don't need the comma there, the words new incident report out of my mouth, the man who grabbed the woman did so again. This time they didn't argue. This time they didn't argue. This time she didn't argue. She didn't argue. The three of them ran away together and turned north at corner A-14. I stayed where I was to wait on officials. There was an injured man. I always try to put an extra I in that for some reason. There was an injured man at the bottom of the chute, and it was my duty as a citizen Did you get him out of there in time? Oh, that's good. I'm pleased to hear that. Yes, sir. I'll look at the sketches. Do you mind if I scroll? This one, the man who did most of the talking. He was taller and had plastic sunglasses. They appeared to have no electronics attached to them at all. I know I did find that most unusual. He had dark hair. It was shorter, like he had it trimmed recently. She was yellow-haired, a little shorter above her shoulders, but not by a lot. Yes, that looks right. Blue, I think. A light blue. Not complaining, but the lighting on that street can be low that time of night. Yes, the third one, the other man, had a beard that was in need of shaving. That was in need of grooming, let's say. I can't really explain any of their clothing. It looked to be natural fibers. Very unusual. They almost looked to be taken from a museum. His eyes brown, I think. He squinted a lot, even in the low light, not complaining. Sir, all of their eyes were rimmed a little red. It could have been that there are plenty plenty of users in that part of the city, but their eyes seemed more irritated to me, like maybe they had all gotten something in them that might explain the condition of the man who got hurt. No, sir. No, sir, I'm not trying to do your job. Just trying to be a good citizen. Just trying to be a good citizen and give the best detail of the incident that I can. Yes, sir. I have a few hours still posted at the hub. If you would not mind clearing me for a transport, I would appreciate it. Yes, sir. I hope he is helpful in giving you more facts. Okay, that's chapter 6. So we're at 11,555, so got about 1,000 more words to hit today's goal. So we're going to begin chapter 7. Okay. Chapter 7, post end 164. WWI shift 2. Okay. Canada 5. Racial question mark 3. Alright, so that is the name of the next chapter. I helped them because of my dead mother. Can't think of any other reason I'd stick my neck out for 3 white folks running through that neighborhood. It'd probably be the state police who rang them up first, but it could well be one of the neighbors too. My mother rest her soul, would not be proud of me if I let them run on through the night in obvious distress and danger. So, like the good Christian boy I'm not, I opened the front door of the safe house and hollered them over. The three of them, Patrick, Trey, Patrick, Trey, and Evelyn. Okay, the three of them, Patrick, Trey, and Evelyn, they told me their names after I closed the door. Were not armed at all. That was my first sign I'd invited in trouble of a particular, let's make it peculiar, trouble of a peculiar kind. Stonewall Fillmore, I said, what are you three doing out here at night? We always find ourselves in the worst places at night. Evelyn, the woman, said, I'm sure it is a fine neighborhood. We always find ourselves in the worst places at night, Evelyn, the woman, said. I'm sure it is a fine neighborhood if you are used to it. I don't have any problem with Africans. I just never met any where I'm from. Trey, the shorter guy with a straggly beard, covered his face with one hand after she said that. You can't say shit like that, Evelyn. She doesn't mean any offense, though. Patrick said more to Trey than me. I was not in the mood or the place to educate a few out of touch white folks on how to get along with black folks. But I sure enough invited them in, didn't I? I blame my mother and the Christian values that got her and my dad, say father because he's already said mother, her and my father killed. Alright. It'd probably be the death of me too, sooner rather than later. I just rolled my eyes at them. My mother would have been more disappointed at that than if I let these three die in the street. Best not to say anything when you don't know what to say, I advised. Big Patrick said, "We never have time to catch up on local customs before we have to move on and start all over again." Local customs, like being in this neighborhood. Local customs, like being in this neighborhood, was visiting foreign land for them. The more they talked, the worse it got. Alright, so we've met this character. It got. She had offered that she was sure it was a fine neighborhood. Fact was that it was a pit that I wasn't going to stay in a minute longer than I had to. That made it the perfect place for a safe house, because even if someone figured out something was up here, not a soul would call the state. Probably should make that capital the way it's being used in this sentence. Alright. Would call the state. I wasn't going to tell little Miss I don't know any Africans that though. Alright. I needed to get a feel for them because I could tell they were putting me in danger and maybe compromising the house from now on. I had no intention of coming there again after that night, but I needed to know in order to keep the rest of the organization safe. Where are you traveling from and to this time? I asked as casually as I could. Little Trey stepped forward and said, "We travel between..." Alright, let me back up here. I need to put an M dash in. We travel between, that's as far as we got before Patrick put an arm across Trey's chest and halted him from telling me more. That gesture told me a lot. Alright, I got some sun coming in, but it doesn't look like it's on the camera yet. I may have to push the camera back a little bit to get it out of the sun if it angles the wrong way. The gesture told me a lot. When Patrick met my eyes, I could tell he had seen me notice, and he dropped his arm that told me even more, and I saw he recognized that I was, no, not was, let's do something besides was. That told me even more, and I saw he recognized that I read the details in everything. Him noticing that about me told me a lot about him. I started to worry that he might be with the state, but 3 white people running through the yard of a safe house, hoping the black freedom fighter inside would choose in an instant to invite them in was far from likely. If the state got that smart, we were all done. Okay. Besides, if they knew about the house and knew I was in it, they would not have the patience for subterfuge. I doubt I spelled that right. Yes, I did. Look at me. Spelling a word right. Alright, besides, if they knew about the house and knew I was in it, they would not have the patience for subterfuge. So, who were Patrick, Trey, and Evelyn? Patrick might be X state, and if he could be trusted, that would be huge. Trust was risky, and X state running through this neighborhood lost. Trust was risky, and X state running through the neighborhood, through this neighborhood lost, was a scenario I couldn't draw lines between to make it work. Patrick decided to fill the silence first, and I saw he didn't like that. We travel a lot to stay away from trouble. You seem like a man who would understand that. Because I'm African, I asked in the best pissed. No, I don't know if they would use the word pissed in every world. So what would he say? Because I'm African, I asked in my best insulted voice. His eyes got wide and his guard came down. He stammered pretty good at that one. I was proud of myself for that. Tell me where you're going, I asked while I had them on their heels. Trey started to stammer too. He looked at Patrick as he did it. Aveline was the one to cut through the noise. We don't know. We need to stay safe for at least a couple days. After that, we can move on and never trouble you again. She looked to Trey. After that, he looked down at his empty hands, back up at her, and then shrugged before he nodded. She rolled her eyes at that. So they had something in the works in the next couple days, or they just wanted to buy time for themselves. So you're going to be trouble for me in the meantime? She met my eyes, and I saw no fear in them. She wasn't exactly tough, and I could tell she was smart, but there was no aggression in her. She was bold from being totally unaware that she should consider being afraid. We won't try to be. We shouldn't be. No one here is looking for us, but we might have trouble explaining ourselves to anyone who looks too closely at us. Patrick frowned at her. He felt that was too much information. I bet. But she really wasn't telling me anything. Which direction do you need to go to get where you're going in a couple days? I had no intention of taking them anywhere, but if they thought I might, they'd probably tell me more. Doesn't matter, really. Doesn't matter, really. Doesn't matter, really, Trey said. We can go anywhere. We can stay here. No, let me change that. If this place is supplied, we could stay here. I haven't extended an invitation to you, Trey. Would serve you to keep that in mind. Alright, would serve you to keep that in mind. Alright. He just told me they had nothing lined up. They just wanted to squat for a couple days, either in the house or on the road. I had no intention in that moment. I had no intention for them in that moment. All right. What are you running from? She asked me. Now I was on my heels. Don't you worry about me. I wasn't worried, she said. I thought if we knew, we might be able to help or stay out of the way. That is not what I meant to do. Alright, I wasn't worried, she said. I thought if we knew, we might be able to help or stay out of the way. Just a moment here. Okay. I want to pop something in earlier. Okay, so what are you running from? She asked me. Okay. He told me a lot. Alright. Why did you let us in? She asked. I chewed at my lip and didn't answer at first. I could feel Patrick studying me. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have. What are you running from? She asked me. Now I was on my heels. Don't you worry about me. I wasn't worried, she said. I thought if we knew, we might be able to help or stay out of the way. Staying out of the way is usually helpful, I said. I'd advise you not to run through black neighborhoods at any time of the day or night if you're trying to go unnoticed. Alright, I want Trey to say something here. Trey asked, what caused this world? I wasn't on my heels. Trey asked what caused this world. I wasn't on my heels at that question, but I was not expecting it. I hardly understood it. Maybe it was just one of those sayings like, what a world. Maybe it was just one of those sayings like, what a world. Or maybe it was just one of those sayings like, what a world. Or what happens is what happens. Never liked those sayings because they don't really mean anything. Patrick piped up again. We just really need to know how to navigate normal life here. If there's danger, we just need to know what it is. If there's danger, we just need to know what it is. Okay. I'm coming to a stopping point here, I believe. I'm past my goal for today, but I kind of want to come to a good stopping point to pick up tomorrow. Patrick piped up again. We just really need to know how to navigate normal life here. If there's danger, we just need to know what it is. Is whatever you're running and hiding from pose a threat to us? I saw a sign. We saw a sign earlier on the highway that said unrest will be arrested. I nodded. Those signs were everywhere. They were like stop signs or billboards for righteous burger, or for righteous burgers. Okay. There was one by the guardrail on the highway that backed up to this neighborhood. That's when we decided to leave the road and cut through here, Trey said. That's when we decided to leave the road and cut through here, Trey said. Where are you guys from? I asked again. Now, I was purely curious. What do you do? Or what did you do before you traveled from one place to another? Evelyn spoke again with no guard or filter, as seemed to be her way. I was a ward angel. Nurse, Trey said. I was a nurse, she corrected. Alright. Got people trying to talk to me. Alright, I'm going to stop there. I'm at 12,968. Tomorrow I'll review this chapter and then continue on. I think it's going pretty well. So right now we are at past the 12,000 mark. 12,500 was the goal today, and we are nearly at 13,000. I could keep going until I hit 13,000, but I don't need to do that. So I'm going to take a look at. First, I'm going to update my nano word count. So yesterday I was at 10,143. Today, again, I am terrible about remembering this, 12,968. 12,968. 12,968. I'm bad about remembering the numbers. 12,968. Okay. I am very happy with that. Alright. So 12,968. I've hit my 3-day streak yesterday, working towards the 7-day streak. I should do this. I expect to be doing this every day, and I'm on a pace to finish in 20 days. I'm going to look at some of my friends and see how they're doing. So I'm just shy of 13,000. So we'll look at a talented author named Jessica McHugh. She has hit 14,000 and is working on the first 25,000 of a novella. I believe she split her nano between 2 novellas, so I'm thinking 25,000 may be the first one, and then she'll go straight into the second one. I'm not positive about that, but that is my guess. So she is doing a spectacular job. Good for her. Armand Rosamilia is a prolific author. We've co-written a few things together. Armand is writing a book called The Devil's School, which is horror and supernatural. He is at 11,828. I believe he is not done writing today, so I think there may be more coming. I don't remember if that was his yesterday's total or not, but he's still doing very well. He's trying to finish in 20 days too, I think, but he's well ahead of the 30-day pace, either way you look at it. All right, let's check out somebody else. Let's check out John Quick. John Quick is a prolific writer and notorious for racking up the word counts. John Quick is at 15,359, so he's doing great. I'm not even sure if that might have been yesterday's total. He may not even have written yet today. So doing a bang-up job. Nobody's going to stop him from achieving NaNoWriMo. From John Quick, let's take a look at J.C. Walsh. J.C. Walsh is relatively new to publishing, and so he is working on the second book to his Death Highway series. He's at 4,101. I don't think he's updated for today. He had mentioned online, may have been yesterday or the day before, where he hadn't quite gotten as many words as he wanted. But he's a very positive guy, very upbeat, and I believe that he is going to push himself to do some catching up as we go along. Nothing wrong with coming up a little short on your words, but he does a pretty good job about staying positive and continuing to move forward. So I wouldn't be surprised if he caught up, and even if he doesn't, every word you write is good. All right, Alex from Iowa is a relatively new author. He has some anthologies out. He follows the Mondo Method podcast with Armand Rosamilia and Chuck Buda, and so he uses them for encouragement, and he is at 8,517. That is excellent work for the 30-day goal. His story is going to be Iowa Creature Feature, so I believe that is one novel. I'm not sure if it was a collection of short stories or not, but I believe it's one novel, and so he is well on his way with that one in terms of his goal. Okay, let's take a look at who else is okay with me looking at their work. Let's look at Tim Meyer. Tim Meyer is a very talented author with a number of books out that I have spoken very highly of. He is currently writing Pteranodon Canyon and is at 19,000 words, so he is buzzing right through his 50,000 words. I'm not sure if that book is actually going to be longer than 50,000, but it seems that he's well on pace to knocking that book out. Even if it is longer. He's written a number of monster books for Severed Press, and I'm guessing this is another one for that particular publisher, but again, I'm not positive about that. Let's take a look at one more author, I think. So, looking at Stephen Kazanowski. I did a whole thing on his work yesterday where we talked about his books, and I looked at it on Amazon, so you can find the short video of that. He is at 4,083 words, which is very high. I actually think that's yesterday's total, so he's probably still going to write some today. So excellent work from Stephen Kazanowski as well. So all my friends look to be doing pretty well. I have a couple folks that I'm not showing that are struggling a little bit, and I've talked to them, just trying to encourage them. And again, whether you hit the 50,000 words or not isn't the most important thing. Developing and fostering a habit for writing is. And November is not necessarily the best month for everybody, but people who are trying to achieve this, I go ahead and do my best to be encouraging to them. Other years we've kind of done some things where we sort of kind of egged each other on, so there was a lot of back and forth talking about how far we had gotten and kind of making fun of each other if we hadn't gotten quite as far. Even among those of us that are ahead, we would do that. I'm trying to avoid that this year. It's fun for folks that, those of us that are doing well with it and, have sort of a good-natured rivalry or whatever when we do this. But there are a number of authors in our circle who really do struggle with NaNoWriMo. So when they try it again, I don't think it's that great to rub in word counts or that kind of thing. So doing my best to just encourage them to keep going, get a few words in today if you can. Don't worry about the goal if you're behind. Just keep working steady and then see what happens. You never know. You might find yourself catching up, which isn't out of the realm of possibility. So I hope this is going well for anybody watching who is doing NaNoWriMo, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon.